In this video, I discuss a recent and incredibly significant discovery I made with regards to Moynat. I will be sharing my own personal thoughts on this discovery, and there hasn't been any input from Moynat. I'm Anesu Sagonda, and I produce educational luxury content for anyone after the finer things, whether you're young and starting out in life and wanting to reap the benefits of buying better quality, or you're new to money and wanting to learn how to navigate the terrain, or you're into luxury but you want to focus more on high quality, under the radar brands, then my content is geared towards you. I recently discovered in the last couple of weeks that Nicholas Knightley, Moynat's creative director, has left the brand. And this is something that the brand have not announced in any shape or form. There aren't any press releases. There's absolutely nothing online. And I only found this out because last week I was in Paris, and a week prior to my departure, I reached out to the brand as one of my core brands. I really wanted to speak to somebody in Paris, get an idea of what's going on with the brand, because I am keen to open the lines of communication with all of the brands I talk about, the high quality, under the radar brands, because it's a very small community. And it's of benefit not only to the community, but also to brands to have close lines of communication where we can communicate directly with feedback about the products, about the experience, and the brands can react quickly because of the shorter lines of communication, shorter lines they report to, and therefore they're a lot more reactive to feedback, and they can rectify whatever it may be as quickly as possible. So it's a win-win for the consumer as well as the brands. And I've reached out to Moynat over the last 18 months, and I've not received any communication back apart from in store when I go in to look at bags. I've reached out to the CEO thinking at least they can delegate someone who is a point of contact, but they are aware of the community that's being built with regards to the high quality, under the radar brands. I've reached out to Nicholas Knightley himself. He has presence on social media. And then I reached out to their PR marketing department and mentioned, I'm a huge fan of your brand. I think I've created the most number of videos on YouTube, and I was met with radio silence. And I half expected that, but I still was disappointed. And so I wanted to open the lines of communication so we can build a community together. They're part of it. And also to meet with someone in Paris and get an idea of what's going on with the brand. Because 2.5 years ago, I was filming outside Moynat. I'm going to attach the Mount Street video. And I remember the manager at that time came out to ask what I was doing, inquired about my channel, what I do, and invited me to come in and film in the store. When I did take them up on the offer, I was requested to focus on their signature bags, the current bags from the newly appointed creative director. And I understood that. It made sense. I've spoken about that with regards to Celine. I'm going to attach the video above. And what brands typically do is, as a creative director becomes comfortable and he starts to pick up momentum, they phase out increasingly more styles from the previous creative director. It really makes sense. But with Moynat, I was a lot more focused on the styles from the first creative director, the Rajan, Gabrielle, the Gabby, for example, from Ramesh Nair. I understood the brand's request, and I did talk about the signature styles. I'm going to attach the video above. But very quickly, within 6 to possibly 9 months maximum, I started getting increasingly more responses, comments from my viewers saying, is the Voyage still in production? I was thinking, of course it is. It's just been released in the last 6 to 9 months. But what had happened is the styles that the new creative director had introduced were not popular. They weren't selling. They weren't as commercially successful as the styles from the previous creative director. And from a business point of view, they started phasing out the new styles and reintroducing the old styles from Ramesh Nair. And the Moynat I recommended to you as my viewers is the Moynat from Ramesh Nair's time. The Moynat he built, the brand first opened in 1849, and then they closed after a period of time, and then reopened again around 2010, 2011, when Ramesh Nair was involved with the brand, and he helped to lay the foundation. And he set an incredibly high benchmark. And what I really admired and still admire about Ramesh is the creative masterpieces he created during his time at Moynat. And he's continuing to do that at Joseph Duclos. But he was creating bags like the vanity, the mini vanity case, for example. That is the most creative masterpiece in the industry. It is better made. The craft that's gone into that bag is far superior to any of the other retail brands. And a lot of the retail brands that are doing incredibly well, whether it's Chanel, Christian Dior, Hermes, for example, they are very much thriving off the back of their phenomenal brand equity. When Moynat reopened under Ramesh Nair's guidance, he was building the brand up from scratch, and he has created bags that are superior to all of his competitors. So the Moynat I was recommending to you was based on the work from Ramesh Nair. And I think only naturally assumed, I think it's fair to assume that the standard, the high benchmark Ramesh had set would be continued by the new creative director, Nicholas Knightley. But that hasn't been the case. The brand was on the rise during Ramesh Nair's time. And then once Nicholas Knightley had arrived, his first collection, things started to take a downward turn. And literally when I found out that he has left the brand has fallen off the cliff as far as I'm concerned. Because when I really look at the bags he has designed, some of them have been discontinued. They still have some in store, but they're not out on display. They're in the back and they bring them out on request. But when you compare the craftsmanship from Ramesh's bags and compare that to Nicholas Knightley, it's literally day and night. You have the vanity case. That is a creative masterpiece. There are very few brands. In fact, there isn't a brand, any aspirational brand, whether it's Hermes, Chanel, Christian Dior, Gucci, Fendi, Givenchy, there isn't a brand that's producing a bag with the same level of craft as Ramesh has done. When I look at Nicholas Knightley's styles, I went in and saw the envelope. I remember being invited by one of the assistants to come and look at the envelope. The envelope is a very basic bag. It doesn't showcase any exceptional craftsmanship or high quality leathers. The leathers are beautiful. They were put in place by Ramesh Nair with the contacts he had, and he established the right leathers for the brand. But when it comes to the craft of Nicholas Knightley's bags, I look at the Fauré, for example, and then compare it to the vanity case, the opening clasp with the vanity case. It's a much better opening clasp. You slide it to the right and it flicks up. Whereas with the Fauré, you pinch the two knobs in and then you physically have to lift the clasp. And I'm thinking, this is a cheaper clasp. They are scrimping. They are no longer focused on high quality. I think it's now a margin issue where they're really trying to squeeze the margins. They're now focused on cheaper hardware, for example. And I thought, this is really disappointing. And then I look at the envelope, incredibly basic. There isn't any exceptional craftsmanship. It's a style that other brands are producing. I look at, for example, the edge coating, something that Ramesh is incredibly proud of. Ramesh Nair, really thinly applied, strong, neat edge coating. I looked at, for example, the hardware. It's inferior. The edge coating on the envelope, for example, isn't the same edge coating I'm accustomed to when I look at the Gabrielle or I look at the Regine, for example. And I'm just thinking, what's going on? This is not the quality I'm recommending to my viewers. And this video is for people who implicitly trust my opinion. And I genuinely think Moynat's in trouble. They need a creative director. When I inquired as to who's the new creative director, who do they have lined up, I was told they're working with the designers. A brand like Moynat, a niche brand like Moynat that has previously been focused on high quality, exceptional craftsmanship, You cannot have a brand run by designers. You need a creative director who is leading the brand, who knows the contacts, where the leather's coming from, the hardware, the edge coating. He works with his artisans, his ateliers, and he knows exactly what's going on. He's on top of it and making sure that quality is maintained at a very high standard. That's not happening with Moynat, and we're seeing the new bags that are coming through. But when I looked at Nicholas Knightley's resume when he first came, I was a bit surprised. I thought, he doesn't have any niche experience. He's been with Louis Vuitton. He's a legend. He's a veteran of Louis Vuitton. But he needs more of the niche experience, I would have thought. Louis Vuitton is a fantastically run brand. When it comes to the big brands, a brand that has fantastic systems and processes in place in order to operate at the level they are operating at, and very well, I get it. But Moynat is different. It needs something different. It needs someone who has niche experience, who's really focused on the details, on phenomenal craftsmanship, who has the connections, the ateliers, the know-how, where to get the leather, where to get the hardware, and so forth. And we're seeing a change, a drop with Moynat. And alarm bells have been ringing for a while, and when I found out that the creative director is gone, it all made sense. I'm appealing to all the people who trust my opinion. I think we need to give Moynat a moment to rethink the equation, their strategy, how to move forward, or to totally leave the arena. But the new Moynat, the current Moynat, with the way things are, it's not a brand I recommend at all. And it's one that I'm not comfortable including in my core selection of high quality under the radar brands. Until they sort out the creative director, I don't know who they have in mind. They're slim pickings. There are not many people with the level of talent that's needed for Moynat, and that really scares me. And I just think we need to give them a moment to rethink, regroup, and see what happens in the future. Then, as and when that happens and we see the new products, and if I'm satisfied, I think I will be more than happy to recommend Moynat again. But at this point, I think let's just give them a moment to regroup.